Hello, my name is Steve Masler from troutu.com, and I would like to discuss with you how to tie a basic dry fly pattern perfect for those just beginning to tie flies. This simple pattern, which can be amended with different color combinations, is both relatively straightforward to tie and quite effective for a generic fly pattern. First, here are the tools you will need: thread-through bobbin, available on troutu.com, wax, hackle pliers, bodkin, whip finisher, and scissors. Next, here are the materials used: black thread, number 14 dry fly hook, rooster neck feathers for hackle and tail, duck, goose, or turkey feather for wings, and fur or synthetic dubbing material for the body of the fly. Note that I prefer the colors shown for both visibility on the water as well as effectiveness, but you can use most any combination you prefer. Start by wrapping the hook shank with thread, working your way to the bend in the hook. Tear off a few of the longer barbules on one of the larger hackle feathers. Tie them in as the tail and cut the excess off. Here's what the fly looks like at this point. Wrap your way toward the eye of the hook, tying down any loose ends of the barbules and leaving enough room to finish the fly later, without obstructing the eye of the hook. Next, using the bodkin, separate some of the turkey or goose feather barbules to mimic the wings. Keeping the wings distinct from one another, tie them to the hook. Next, pull the wings vertical and tie some thread directly in front of the wings to keep them upright. Here's what the fly should look like. Weave the thread between the wings in a figure 8 pattern to keep them separate and distinct. You may need to readjust the wings again as you tie the fly to keep them positioned properly. Note that duck feathers are somewhat easier to work with and may be a better choice for the beginner than my surplus turkey feathers. Here's how the wings should look at this point. Trim and tie down the excess length of feather barbules and wrap the thread down the shank of the hook toward the tail. Here's what the fly should look like. Next, pull some extra thread from the bobbin and wax it. Pull a small amount of the dubbing material out and thinly twist it onto the thread. Wrap the dubbing around the fly from the tail to the wings, creating a tapered body as you go. You may need to add more or subtract some of the dubbing material from the thread if you don't have the correct amount. Here's what the fly looks like at this point. Now pull off a feather for the hackle of the fly, representing the legs of the insect. Ideally, you will find a long feather with short barbules. If one feather isn't long enough, you can use two feathers, tying them in at the same time. Tie the base of the feather securely onto the hook and clip off the excess. I prefer to tie the hackle feather onto the hook at a slight angle toward the bend in the hook. Here's what the fly looks like at this point. Clamp the tip of the feather in the hackle pliers and wrap the feather around the hook, wrapping a portion of the feather behind the wings and some in front. If needed, you can use the hackle feather to hold the wings vertical if they have slipped down. Be sure to leave enough room at the eye of the fly to tie off the fly without covering the eye with hackle. Tie the tip of the hackle feathers down, clipping off any excess. Unwind a little extra thread, keeping the thread tensioned. Use the whip finisher to finish the fly and then cut the extra thread. Now tie a few more and you're ready to hit the stream. Finally, note that this fly pattern is a generic pattern. It doesn't represent any specific fly. For better results, you will want to learn to fish with specific patterns. Check out our Perfect Fly brand flies available at troutu.com/store/flies for specific highly imitative flies and information on how to fish them.